Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Good evening. It's Monday, August 23rd. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. A major milestone as the FDA fully approves the Pfizer vaccines. President Biden health experts calling it a pivotal moment for the country, and it comes as more local schools and universities open today, and local hospitals struggle with staffing due to COVID case increases and fatigue. Our coverage begins with KPBS's Melissa May.
2 short months ago, Scripps Health had 13 COVID patients spread among their 5 hospital campuses. Today, they have 175. Plus, another 850 patients are being treated for other medical issues.
Our healthcare workers in the United States are burning out.
Chris Van Gorder is the president and CEO of Scripps Health and has announced that some medical procedures may be postponed, but only those where it's safe for the patients to wait. Decisions will be made on a case-by-case basis.
To make sure we deliver the highest quality care for our patient, that they have an appropriate bed, be that in the intensive care unit or in a COVID unit when they do get sick, and that we take a little bit of pressure off of our staff who deeply deserve that at this point in time.
As healthcare workers face another surge of COVID-19 cases, Van Gorder says the public is treating them differently than early in the pandemic.
People were coming and treating the healthcare workers as if they were heroes. Businesses were bringing food and supplies. That has evaporated. And as a matter of fact, the patients we're seeing now in many cases are angry. They're yelling at the nurses. And sometimes when we diagnose them with COVID, they say we're lying to them.
I have periods of time when I'm very distressed and disheartened because I feel like we're never going to get out of this.
Kimberly Brown is a licensed vocational nurse and instructor.
We have gotten a lot of backlash from people. And I think it's out of their frustration and not knowing what to do, not knowing how long this is going to be.
Van Gorder says Scripps Health is adequately staffed to deliver safe care. And if you are admitted to the hospital, you will receive the care you need. Melissa May, KPBS News.
And now to that major breakthrough in the fight against the pandemic. The Pfizer vaccine has now received full approval from the Food and Drug Administration. As Jamie Graydon reports, the move may motivate more people to get the shot and open the door for more vaccine mandates across the county.
Those who've been waiting for full approval should go get your shot now.
A critical step to get more Americans vaccinated. The Food and Drug Administration has now granted its first full approval of a coronavirus vaccine 9 months after the first dose of the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine was administered in the U.S.
Their efforts to move as quickly as possible have in no way sacrificed scientific standards or the integrity of our process.
The vaccine has been authorized for emergency use in the U.S. since mid-December for people age 16 and older. In May, that authorization was extended to people 12 and older.
There you go.
While some health experts say the decision may motivate people still hesitant to get the shot, others are not so sure.
What I worry is that they may just come up with another reason for why they don't want to get it.
Full approval allows Pfizer to advertise the vaccine, which will be marketed as Comirnaty, and opens the door for more businesses, schools, and officials to issue vaccine mandates. Monday's move already having an impact. Mayor Bill de Blasio announced a vaccine mandate for all New York City school staff.
Vaccine mandates do have an impact, especially in people who are on the fence. It protects other people, protects people in your family, protects people in your workplace. That's another important reason to get vaccinated.
This all comes as vaccination rates are starting to tick up. Last week, the U.S. reported more than 1 million daily vaccinations for 3 days in a row. Jamie Graydon, KPBS News.
Hospitalizing unvaccinated people is costing the U.S. health system billions of dollars. A Kaiser Family Foundation report found that 113,000 hospitalizations could have been prevented in June and July. With the average COVID-related hospital stay costing $20,000, that means more than $2 billion could have been saved if those people had been vaccinated. The foundation says these figures are likely an understatement of the burden on the healthcare system. We are tracking the latest developments on the pandemic at kpbs.org. For everything from local case numbers to vaccination locations, click on the Tracking COVID-19 link on our homepage. Carlsbad and Rancho Santa Fe school districts joined many college campuses in reopening today. Education reporter MG Perez gives us a look at how they're handling the COVID crisis.
Everyone's a winner when it comes to COVID-19 education and prevention.
Know anyone that needs help, or if you need help, just reach out to us.
It's the first day of classes here at SDSU and the first opportunity for the university's economic crisis response team to reach students. This semester, everything students need help with has some connection to COVID's ongoing health threat, including food, housing, finances.
Biggest hope is that every student is able to succeed in school without having to worry about any type of crisis.
SDSU requires every student to provide proof of full COVID vaccination before they can be on campus. Masks are required too. So far, 94% of the student body, that's 33,000 students, have submitted documentation.
Everyone is supposed to be vaccinated, and the ones who aren't are getting regularly tested. So I feel pretty comfortable.
It's super interesting. I didn't really know where anything was. It's my first time having to learn where classes are and stuff. So I'm super excited to be here, though.
This fall, there are 6,000 students living here on campus. That's 1,500 less than before the COVID pandemic began. University officials hope that less students will help prevent another outbreak. San Diego City College started classes this morning, too. Most students are choosing to stay home and learn online. Only 20% of the total programs are being offered in person. In Chula Vista, Southwestern College has increased cleaning and sanitizing protocols, along with partnering with the San Isidro Health Center for ongoing vaccination clinics here on campus. Over the weekend, San Diego state officials investigated reports of violence and large party gatherings near the campus. It's another health risk students face.
It's just irresponsible, with this whole COVID going around. You got to think about the other people, that are actually suffering from it.
For now, prevention and an education go hand in hand. MG Perez, KPBS News.
How do the majority of Americans feel about masks and vaccine mandates in schools? A new poll by the Associated Press Nork Center for Public Affairs Research shows 6 in 10 Americans say masks and vaccines should be required for students and teachers in K-12 schools. But political lines divided those sentiments. Among Republicans, only 3 in 10 are in favor of the requirements, compared with 8 in 10 Democrats. Masks have been mandated in some states and barred from being required in others. The police officer who shot and killed a woman from San Diego in the January 6th insurrection will not face disciplinary action. Ashley Babbitt was shot while trying to climb through a broken window into the speaker's lobby as the pro-Trump mob overran the Capitol. U.S. Capitol Police said the officer who shot Babbitt was following department policy of using deadly force to protect human life. The department will not name the officer because of concerns for their safety. The U.S. military pulled off its biggest day of airlifts out of Afghanistan yet. 28 flights carried about 10,400 people to safety in a 24-hour period. The deadline for the U.S. troop withdrawal is just 8 days away.
We will continue to get Afghans at risk out of the country even after U.S. military forces have left.
Afghan families are arriving in San Diego as KPBS military reporter Steve Walsh shows us it is putting strain on local aid agencies.
Earlier in the year, the number of Afghans coming to San Diego under the special immigration visa program had slowed to a trickle between COVID and delays created under the Trump administration. All of that had turned around in the last 2 weeks as the evacuation continues in Kabul, says Edleva Beko with Jewish Family Services of San Diego.
as people are being moved into safety quickly, they also need to be placed at the local affiliates quickly. So we just need to make sure that we are streamlining our processes in a way to meet this challenge as well.
Today, Joint Base McGuire-Dix Lakehurst in New Jersey became the 4th U.S. base assigned to take Afghans while they complete their paperwork. They're then moving on to their final destinations inside the country within a few days. People coming to San Diego already have some local tie.
And the biggest challenge remains the housing. Again, San Diego has a housing crisis as it is, so dealing with that in such an emergency situation makes it even more difficult. We've seen quite a lot of support from the community.
Jewish Family Services is asking for donations, everything from pots and pans to people who can drive them to their new place after they arrive.
Our goal is to make sure that as they come here, provided the same level of services that we've been able to provide with more planning, and make sure that those families do not fall through the cracks, and we don't forget to make connections so that they can actually get their process in place, restart their life, start working, and become self-sufficient in our community.
At the moment, Jewish Family Services is seeing one new family arrive every day, which they expect to happen for as long as the airlift continues. Steve Walsh, KPBS News.
An image of hope amid the chaos. A baby girl born in the cargo bay of a U.S. Air Force C-17 carrying Afghan evacuees. As the plane landed at Ramstein Air Base in Germany on Saturday, the 86th Medical Group rushed in to safely deliver her. More than 6,000 evacuees have arrived at the base, with 17 flights landing in 24 hours. Early voting is underway in the September 14th election that will decide whether Governor Gavin Newsom is kicked out of office. The first question on the ballot is a yes or a no. Should Newsom be recalled? But the second question, who should replace him if the recall passes, has many voters scratching their heads. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen takes a closer look at 4 of the 46 replacement candidates.
We picked these candidates because they've most consistently polled among the top. And we'll start with the favorite, conservative radio host Larry Elder. Elder has been on the air for decades, and his national profile has helped him rise fast in the polls. Still, his politics would be a sharp right turn for blue California. Elder, who's black, denies the existence of systemic racism. He opposes gun control and abortion rights, and he believes the minimum wage should be abolished. Here he is speaking with the Sacramento Bee editorial board.
I never have quite understood why a third party like government, why that government feels it's anybody's business what my relationship is with an individual who willingly sold his labor and my relationship with that person when I willingly bought that labor. Why two people who are adults can't determine what the price of labor ought to be is beyond me.
Next, let's look at San Diego businessman John Cox. You might recognize him as the 2018 Republican candidate for governor, or his use of a live bear as a campaign prop. Cox wants to use the criminal justice system to force people experiencing homelessness into mental health treatment. He rejects the national best practice of giving them housing first. And he told Cal Matters the government's response to COVID-19 borders on hysteria.
It's not Ebola. It's not the smallpox. I just, I think maybe what we ought to do is take a step back and take a deep breath and say, we'll do what we can. We'll keep people as protected as we can, but we're never going to get rid of this disease. And I think it's disingenuous on the part of politicians to think, gee, we're going to end this disease completely.
Another familiar face for San Diegans is former San Diego Mayor Kevin Faulconer. He's tried to claim the title of the most moderate Republican in the race, and the one with the most experience in elected office. On housing, Faulconer touts San Diego's Complete Communities program that allows denser and taller apartment buildings near public transit. And during a Cap Radio debate, he said California's laws need to change so similar programs can get done faster.
We shouldn't have had to do over a year that it took to do that. It needs to be streamlined. We need to make it easier so we can actually construct the housing where we want it, which is along our transit corridors. That's where you want the density, not in single-family neighborhoods.
Elder, Cox, and Faulkner are all Republicans who supported Donald Trump in 2020, but one Democrat has emerged as a top contender among the replacement candidates, YouTuber and real estate broker Kevin Paffrath. He's young, 29, and his platform includes converting vacant commercial buildings into homeless shelters. But he doesn't say where the shelters would be or how he'd pay for them. His pitch to voters, a Republican governor won't get anything done with Democrats controlling the legislature.
I'm not a far leftist, and I'm not a far rightist. In fact, most people who learn about me don't even know if I'm a Democrat or a Republican. That's because my policies and my solutions are California solutions. They're neutral, middle-of-the-road solutions, and I seek to provide those solutions with both Democrats and Republicans.
These are only 4 of 46 candidates trying to replace Newsom. But remember, if a majority of voters say no to the recall, Newsom stays in office, and the vote on who should replace him doesn't matter. Recent polls have shown likely voters are almost evenly split on whether Newsom should be recalled. That's because Democrats are more apathetic and less likely to vote, while Republicans are energized at the prospect of taking over the Golden State. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
Ballots went out to all of San Diego County registered voters 1 week ago. Today, the county registrar of voters announced more than 240,000 have already been cast. For more information about mailing in your ballot and locations to vote in person, visit sdvote.com. Southern California transportation projects are poised to get a major funding infusion if Congress passes the more than $1 trillion bipartisan infrastructure plan. KPBS environment reporter Eric Anderson says that could fuel an important transition in San Diego's transportation system.
San Diego transportation officials know they have a lot to do to restore the region's transportation systems. There are billions of dollars worth of maintenance projects waiting for funding.
Just like your own house, it's better to fix it before it becomes a bigger problem.
DeLartis says state officials pumped more money into their budgets this year thanks to a huge state surplus. Federal dollars being considered would only add to that.
To be able to use state and federal funds to bring our bridges up to standards and in good condition, as well as our pavement, and as well as investing transit and also all the supporting structure that the electrification of the transportation system needs.
Climate advocates criticize the federal legislation because they say it focuses too much on infrastructure for fossil fuel-powered vehicles. But former San Diego City Council President Georgette Gomez says this could be an opportunity to reshape how people get around.
We need to improve our mobility infrastructure, and transit is part of that. So I truly believe that if we can deliver a world-class transit system for San Diegans, then the conversation changes. Our environment, our greenhouse gases will change and will get reduced.
The Senate has passed the bipartisan infrastructure bill. It needs House approval before it can go to the president's desk for a signature. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
Hundreds of homes destroyed and thousands of people forced to leave the area. That is the situation in Northern California tonight as more than 13,000 firefighters work to contain a dozen large wildfires. There are no red flag warnings, but state officials say the danger will remain high through the middle of the week. The Dixie Fire is now 40% contained in the northern Sierra Nevada. 1,200 buildings burned. The Caldor Fire, southwest of Lake Tahoe, has destroyed 447 buildings.
After a little bit of a cooler week last week, we'll see temperatures on the rise over the next several days, mainly dry times ahead as all the monsoon moisture looks to get squashed here. And we're also going to be talking about some gusty winds picking up thanks to some troughing patterns across the northwestern tier here of the nation. So let's take you into tonight. Temperatures will fall off into the low 60s in Oceanside, upper 50s out towards Escondido, and even cooler for Vermona, 53. Borrego Springs dropping off into the mid 70s, but boy, your temperatures are going to be on the rise here over the next couple of days. Tuesday is a bright, comfortable, quiet day here. Again, temperatures already going to start to be a little bit warmer there on Tuesday. Thursday, and we'll see things warm up gradually for the next several days. We're talking about highs close to 90 degrees in El Cajon, upper 70s for Chula Vista and for San Diego, 104 over in Borrego Springs. Wednesday, you'll notice that that dip in the jet stream beginning to dig a little bit further south here, and the warmth really does stay confined to the Four Corners region, but some of that's going to slip into far southern portions of California here. And we're going to watch the possibility of an enhanced risk for wildfire danger here over the next several days, even as we head into the weekend here, because of the gusty winds that are going to be picking up with that dip in the jet stream across the northwest. Again, we're going to stay mainly dry and a little bit on the gusty side. Near the coast, temperatures not changing a whole lot here. We'll likely climb from the upper 70s into the low to mid 80s, a little bit above average for this time of year by the time we get into Thursday. Further inland, you'll notice temperatures jumping from the mid 80s on Tuesday into the mid 90s by the time we get to Thursday. So a little bit more of a significant jump there. Plenty of sunshine in the mountains, and temperatures generally sitting in the mid to upper 70s here. We could see a little bit of a jump as we head into the weekend, back up into the mid 80s. And again, in the deserts, that's where we jump from the low triple digits up into the 109, 110, 111 range for the later part of the work week. For KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Jessica Pash.
A new mural honoring deported veterans was unveiled in Barrio Logan over the weekend. KPBS reporter Alexandra Rangel has more on the efforts to bring these veterans back home to the U.S.
They loved this country enough, they were willing to take an oath and say, I will die for it.
Veterans who commit crimes but do not have U.S. citizenship are often deported back to their native country. Such is the case for Laura Mesa, who was deported in 2003 after serving in the U.S. Army. She is one of the many faces portrayed on the Leave No One Behind mural project. The mural can be seen outside of the Don Diego Veterans of Foreign Wars post in Barrio Logan.
But do you know who is being left behind? Laura Mesa and dozens of deported veterans just like her.
Jenica Tamayo is an Air Force veteran. She shared about her battle with PTSD, a story that parallels Mesa's.
Haunting, intrusive thoughts, vivid nightmares.
Tamayo, a U.S. citizen, was able to get the help she needed to overcome PTSD. But those suffering in silence sometimes never get the help they need.
Veterans often are experiencing PTSD. Sometimes that results in them committing some sort of crime that gets them deported.
Dulce Garcia is the executive director for Border Angels. She's worked with deported vets who aren't able to come back to the U.S. due to immigration policy for service members. But things may be changing as the Biden administration has promised to provide a pathway to citizenship for vets. The Department of Homeland Security will evaluate if crimes committed by veterans had a correlation to PTSD due to military service.
It sounds like a long process. It's going to be a case by case, and that's why they need to get started yesterday, right? There's a long ways to go to bring every single person back.
A QR code can be found on the Leave No One Behind mural. The public can scan the code with their smartphone and learn about each person depicted on the mural. Alexandra Rangel, KPBS News.
The Padres are making a big change as their playoff hopes fade. Pitching coach Larry Rothschild is out of a job. He was relieved of his duties today by manager Jace Tingler. The team's starting pitchers have dealt with a lot of injuries and largely underperformed this summer. The Padres' recent skid forced them to lose their hold on a playoff spot over the weekend. Starting tomorrow, the Old Globe Theater will require proof of full vaccination against COVID-19 from those attending their productions. Theater goers will need to bring a vaccination record card, a picture of the record card, or a digital vaccination card. Those who have not gotten their shots can attend a production if they have proof of a recent negative COVID test and if they wear a mask. The FDA and top U.S. health officials say they're battling more misinformation. They say some people are trying to use an anti-parasitic drug, typically given to livestock, to treat or prevent COVID-19. Mandy Gaither has more on the dangers of this drug.
Warning from top U.S. health officials prompting this tweet from the FDA, urging people not to use ivermectin, typically given to animals to treat heartworms.
Ivermectin is not a recommended
treatment for COVID-19. It is not a recommended drug to prevent COVID-19.
The Mississippi State Department of Health sent out this alert saying the state's Poison Control Center has seen a rise in calls from people who have taken the anti-parasitic drug, those who consumed it attempting to treat or prevent COVID-19. Officials say most who called bought ivermectin at livestock supply centers.
If you get COVID-19, we actually do have treatments that work, from steroids to monoclonal antibodies and other treatments, but ivermectin is not one of them.
The FDA says there are approved uses for ivermectin in people, but not for the prevention or treatment of COVID-19, and taking it can be harmful, especially when it hasn't been prescribed by a doctor. Some possible side effects include skin rash, nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea, neurologic events like dizziness, seizures, or confusion, a sudden drop in blood pressure, and liver injury.
What this highlights is just the profound cost of health misinformation.
Officials continue to say the best protection we have against COVID-19, vaccines. For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
I'm Judy Woodruff. Tonight on the NewsHour, on the ground in Kabul as chaos at the airport hampers those desperate to leave Afghanistan. Coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
A breathtaking panorama of Mars released by NASA is revealing more about the red planet. The Curiosity rover took 129 individual images while it traveled up the side of Mount Sharp. NASA says the 360-degree view of the Gale crater reveals an ancient environment that has dried up over time. Scientists believe the rocks will tell them how this once wet planet changed into the rocky, dry land that it is today. And you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Have a good night.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.